Hi, everyone, and welcome to Unusual Insight. This is the podcast where we invite you to join us as we voyage down a different rabbit hole each week. My name is Jesse.
I'm Ashleigh.
And this week we're talking about cults. Yes.
Whoop, whoop.
Okay, so yeah, this is the first episode. I'm really excited and
I'm really nervous.
I'm really nervous, but it's cool. I'm just imagining that, like, I'm only talking to my mom because she's the only one that's listening.
Yeah, I mean, my mom might listen.
I don't know.
She'll like pretend to for 5 minutes out of.
And then she'll be like, "Yeah, I totally listened. It was great."
Obligatorial word.
I don't know.
I made it
words. Well, anyway, so welcome everyone. If you've clicked on this podcast, I love you. That's about it.
That's awfully generous, but okay.
Well, it's the first episode. We're nervous. You know, there's microphones in front of us. My heart is beating really fast. It's super strange. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about cults. I'm really excited about this. And I guess a little bit about why we started this podcast is, I mean, I just like looking into weird stuff. And I feel like I always look into weird stuff and then call Ashleigh or see her, and I'm just like, oh my god, I have to tell you about this thing. And so I just decided to make it into a podcast. Yeah,
and I was invited to be here, so I'm here.
So you're here. So yeah, anything happening with you? Any news this week or anything?
I mean, no, not so much news. I living my life.
All right, that's good. Good to be alive.
Pretty solid day-to-day routine.
I've got some news.
Oh.
So I think I might have told you about this, but if anybody doesn't know, McDonald's is coming out with donut fries soon. I don't know when, but I was looking at an article today, and I was so pissed because I saw in the article that McDonald's is coming out with donut fries because Dunkin' Donuts came out with donut fries. And I'm just like...
Way to be original, McDonald's.
Well, no, I'm pissed because I never knew. Like, we could have gone... We could have had donut fries.
Oh, I thought you meant that Dunkin' Donuts is coming out with donut fries. No, they've had donut fries?
No, I don't know how long they've had them. I just know that they have come out with them.
So they already exist.
They exist.
And we haven't had it.
Exactly. So, I mean, that has nothing to do with cults, but that's just a little bit of news that
I don't know.
was
there might be
for.
A donut fry cult after people eat them.
If there was a Dunkin' Donuts cult, I would be its top member. Like,
the leader.
Yeah, but we don't even have a Dunkin' Donuts in this town. Or
yeah,
anywhere
we live in the middle
us.
of nowhere.
Yeah.
So everyone knows. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's the only news I had. So I guess...
Yeah, I didn't really research current events since I was researching this up until 5 minutes ago.
Legitimately.
Like, seriously.
Like, you got off the couch and was like, okay, let's do this, like, after taking notes in your notebook.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk about some cults.
All right.
This is what the people came for. They don't want to know about donut fries.
Oh, I don't know. That might be more interesting.
So, I guess I want to start off with, like, what is a cult? Like, where, you know?
Buddy, you should ask. That's on my first page of notes. So, I had always just kind of, like, made assumptions based on, like, what you hear in media and I guess just, like, what you see in TV shows. And I was super curious when you brought this up as a topic and very uninformed. So I was like, well, like, I typed in Google, what is a cult? And it was like, what is a cult versus the occult? And I was like, I didn't know those were two different things. So maybe other people knew that. I felt a little stupid.
I mean, I didn't know that. I feel like
I knew that they were two different things, but I kind of thought they were the same thing, sort of.
I thought, like, the occult, well, like, when you say occult, I could be completely wrong, because I didn't do any, like, I didn't see this in anywhere in my research.
Yeah.
But, I think of witches.
You're right.
Okay, all right, cool. I just wanted to make sure. And I think of, like, a cult of witches, like, like, you know, a grouping.
Like, a cult instead of occult.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I actually, at first, thought there was an A in the beginning.
No,
is it not?
No,
Okay.
it's an O. It's an O with two C's. but otherwise it's the same word.
Okay, so yeah, what's the difference?
A cult usually refers to a social group defined by its religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs, or its common interest in a particular personality, object, or goal. So basically, it's a group of people that worship a person and or an idea in a religious-like way. Mm-hmm. The occult is a system of beliefs or teaching that has a lot of metaphysical, mystical, supernatural properties and are often associated with witchcraft, Satanism, and other underground esoteric systems of science, philosophy, and doctrine.
See, but I don't know. I guess in my research, like the definition that I came about was a system of religious veneration and devotion directed towards a particular figure or object, which is kind of like what you said.
Yeah.
And then a secondary one that I found is a religion regarded as unorthodox or spurious. I should have looked at what spurious means because I have no clue. But, but so like when I read that definition, I mean, they both bring up religion. Is a cult not a religion in a way? Because to me, it seems like cults and religion truly aren't that different.
So I think that a cult is a group, whereas like a cult is a practice. So like there could be cults that practice
a cult.
And there can be people
be so
that
confusing.
Well, we don't really have to talk about it after this. But basically, like they're mutually exclusive, but they can merge at times. Like if we had a cult and we practiced occultism, if that's the way one says it, but we don't. So, but no, I totally, like, once I looked it up, I was like, okay, I guess I kind of knew that was a thing, but the lines were so blurred that I kind of always referred to them interchangeably in my head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just, like, same thing, like, kind of thought you can't have one without the other, you know?
Yeah, no, totally. And did you know, like, this is just like like an extra nothingness, but right now in the U.S., I saw there are numbers anywhere between 700 and 2,000 cults in America.
No, it's crazy. Like,
but
there's like tens of thousands, and like these are not just small groups of people. Like some of these have millions of followers.
Yeah, well, and it also depends on how you look at cult, because right now we're explaining the definition of what cults are, like what a cult is. But like I would say now people have a different, you know, view of cult. Like the true definition isn't what when we think of cults.
No, it's definitely very like socially tainted at this point. Like, I mean, the older sense of the word is a set of religious devotional practices that are conventional within their culture and related to a particular figure and or place. So like a Catholic saint would have been considered under that definition, or the imperial cult of ancient Rome. Like, this is a word that is derived from such a long time ago, but yeah, like the Urban Dictionary version versus what it actually meant at one point are very skewed, I would say. Yeah, and I even saw somewhere where it said a religion is just an old cult, and a cult is a new religious movement. Yeah, so NRM is like new religious movement. That's the term that they're trying to like kind of modernize and the whole cult thing. So that way we don't have like a negative connotation on cults. Because I feel like most people assume that cults are like inherently evil, or at the very least like threatening to society and generally bad. You know what I mean? Like, but so many of them are not. Yeah, no, totally. More so than. And I mean, I hope we have, like, anybody that's religious and listening. Offended. Yeah, we've already lost them. But no, and I actually saw that like somewhere. I didn't write it in my notes, but Catholicism is like one of the biggest cults. Like it is a cult. Yeah. But so looking at like kind of the differences between what is a religion and what we see as a cult. So like some of the things I saw is cults use psychological coercion to recruit, indoctrinate, and retain their members, which, I mean, you could say religions don't do that, but I feel like almost in a sense they kind of do sometimes. Yeah. Like, maybe not coercion and like, oh, like, you have to, I don't know, give me something that's going to look bad
on you, and then we
Like
have that as collateral over
blackmail
you.
or
Yeah,
something,
you know.
yeah.
But I mean, almost in the writing of the text, it's like coercion. Like, oh, if you leave, you're a sinner, or if you do this, you're a sinner. You're gonna go to hell.
Yeah.
You need us to not be a sinner. You know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not like an expert on religion, so don't take anything I'm saying like, you know.
But no,
serious,
I mean, okay, so I am also not an expert on really much, but definitely not religion. But my whole, like, twist, my insight, my unusual insight was basically comparing traditional accepted religion to most cults, barring, like, the crazy few that you'll probably talk about. And I don't really see a big difference. Like, honestly, when I was considering a cult, not a cult, by definition, I was really wondering, like, what's the difference?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I feel like,
At least in theory.
where we are now, and with our knowledge of like what cults are to us, I feel like it's just kind of like, you know it when you see it type thing. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like,
That's honestly, I feel like it's a judgment call.
yeah.
More or less. But yeah, because I mean, like, even amongst the Christian faith, Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons are considered cultists.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
I would have never, I'm like, oh, you know, like, oh, Jehovah's Witness comes to my door. Hey, dude, how you doing? Like,
Yeah, well, Jehovah's Witness comes to my door, I pretend like I'm not home. But something that I did see was that in cults, its wealth does not benefit its members or society. But I was thinking, you know, I mean, I'm sure there are churches where, you know, the money that they get in, they do put that back into society. But there's also a lot of those freaking churches that are like the size of 2 football fields, and the priest or pastor or whatever owns like a Corvette and a $1 million mansion, you know what I mean?
absolutely. And I mean, and that's not even that far-fetched. I mean, even around here, you see people being handsomely rewarded for practicing their faith, if we'll call it that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of feel like it's just, you know, like you were saying, the religions that are accepted now were once new movements in their own right.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like the disagreement that's been going on since the beginning of, you know, people, basically. And like, will we ever, like, in 100 years and 1,000 years, the things that are being viewed as cults now are just going to be mainstream.
I wonder if, like, 1,000 years ago, or, well, a lot of these religions are older than 1,000 years ago, but, you know, like, the old religions, I wonder if when they were first kind of coming about, if, like, other religions were like, oh, that's terrible, that's a cult, but, you know, they probably didn't call it a cult, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway.
No, well, what's interesting to me is that the new religious movement is a term that refers to religions that have appeared since the mid 1800s. So I'm like, these are still, you know, it could be at this point, 200 plus years old.
Well, and I mean, like, look at Wiccans and people that practice the occult.
Yeah.
You know, like, we had the Salem witchcraft trial, or which Salem witchcraft trials?
Just
witch trials?
Craft.
Witchcraft? What am I thinking of? Is there like a video game that's something craft?
Laura Croft Tomb Raider.
Never mind. But no, so the Wiccans have been going through that. I mean, they've been around forever. I've met a lot of Wiccans, and they seem like really nice people, but there's still that like way that society kind of looks at that religion, and people may even get mad at me calling it a religion. Well, I'm sorry, it is, you know. And so I feel like people look at that and still get mad, and that's been around for a long time now.
Yeah, I think that the bottom line is people are generally threatened by things that they don't understand, and they let that fear kind of control their opinions, and they would rather just kind of ignore it or label it as bad instead of exploring it.
Although there are some bad
ones. But I'm also like, there's super effed up stuff that happens in accepted traditions too.
Yep, that's true.
Well, accepted religious traditions.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But I think when you really look at like why people join cults, you know what I mean? Like, is it desperation? Is it fear of the unknown and needing to have faith in something? Is it seduction? Or, you know, someone like, were you saying? Like kind of being like deceived into joining, or, you know, like...
Well, yeah, I mean, it's talking about cults like the bad ones that, you know. I actually have a lot of notes on this, so I'm just going to look over this page.
Cool.
So people are attracted to cults because they promote an illusion of comfort. That's I think that's what everybody's looking for. You know, everyone's looking for comfort in their life. So to them, like, you know, with whatever they're going through, this cult looks like security. It might have answers to the eternal life, which a lot of people I'm scared of, you know, what happens next, you know?
Or like promises of a certain afterlife for their loyalty and devotion.
Exactly. You know, the cult might be an illusion of health or a peace of mind. So I feel like all those things attract people. But also, I have down that people with low self-esteem or people that are vulnerable or going through experiences are way more likely to be persuaded into the cult environment. And there's a couple of reasons, because if you have someone with low self-esteem for the cult, it's actually easier to break them down and to kind of like rebuild their mentality the way you want to, which gets them stuck into the cult, you know? And then people who are vulnerable are going to be more open to that because their self-esteem is going to be lower if they're vulnerable. Like if they just lost a loved one, or they moved to a new place and you have this group that's like, hey, blah blah blah, like,
or they're like suffering from a disease, or
you know, and you have this group that's really nice, and you're like, oh, come, you know, we're a supportive group, we're there for everyone. You don't want to feel
alone, you want connection. I mean, even without all of that, I think we as a people crave connection. You know, nobody wants to feel isolated. But again, I feel like doubling back to traditional churches, religions, like, I feel like oftentimes if you're sitting in the congregation, there's always like at least one, if not multiple times throughout the ministry, is that what you call it?
The mass?
I don't know. That's if you're Catholic.
Well, I was raised Catholic, so
but, you know, through the sermon, where, you know, they're like, oh, well, if anybody has anything they need prayer for today, and this and that. And while I believe that the intention is good, I also feel that they are still ultimately wanting to add more members to their congregation. They're wanting to kind of pull you in. They're offering you something in exchange for something. You know what I mean? And often it's those same vulnerabilities of, you know, loss or fear or whatever.
Totally. Yeah, no, I feel that. And then I have down here some notes on, you know, once you get in the cult, what happens also to kind of make you stay. And so new recruits are love bombed. So,
love bombed.
Yep, that's...
Is that like a bath bomb of love?
I mean, it sounds pretty nice, doesn't it? No, but so love bomb is when you first join a cult, like you, or any group, you get there and everyone just like adorns you with, you know, like nice sayings and tells you how great you're doing and how strong you are, and, you know, like
super complimentary, really, like, and like building you up.
They just build you up. Yeah. So then what happens is that you're like, oh my God, these people are amazing. And your brain associates that group with love and acceptance, which I think is really like interesting. And I wonder if like cults even know that they're doing it, or if, I feel like people in general kind of do that anyway. If you meet someone new, you're super nice, and
you're always putting that best foot forward.
Exactly. So like, I think that's interesting, and that's something that cults do. And then once you're in it, there's something called the hot seat technique. Have you read anything about that?
No.
So I've seen this with a couple of cults, and basically it's where, you know, you're sitting in a group, you're in the hot seat, and the cult is just tearing you down. Like they're saying everything that you've done wrong, and it brings you like this immense feeling of guilt. But since you like have been there and you told them what you did wrong and they tore you down, they're like, see, now you're better. Now that's
Give
gone.
You redemption.
Yeah, it's almost like, what is it called when I said I was raised Catholic and I don't know.
Confessional?
Confessions. Yes. Confessional. Is it confessional? I don't know.
I think it's called the confessional.
Yes.
And you're like repenting, right?
I don't know.
Now you're asking for your forgiveness. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
you're
forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.
Yeah, and so like you're telling him everything that you've done, and but, although he's not like, you know, being like, you suck, asshole. You know.
No, in fact, don't they usually say like nothing?
They don't say anything, and then they
until the end or something.
They give you have to do like Hail Marys.
Yeah.
But yeah. Interesting. Women are way more susceptible to being in cults than men.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we are the weaker sex.
Oh God. There goes the last of the listeners.
I'm kidding.
So,
I'm a strong, independent woman. That's why I'm allowed to say that.
Well, it's just generally women are more interested in religion and spirituality and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Men are kind of
I feel like women especially are more interested in like alternative spirituality and like self-exploration, and a lot of cults kind of feed into that or based off of these other paths, you know, whereas traditional religion can sometimes be very limiting. Mm-hmm. And we're emotional beings, you know? We want to like know all the feels.
Well, and also though, after you know, women come from a history of oppression.
True that.
After all the oppression, joining a cult can actually feel empowering. Mm-hmm. Of course, you don't know you're joining a cult, right, but you're joining this group. You think you're doing something good for yourself, mm-hmm, you know, so all that feels really empowering to you.
And some cults, like the Osho cult, actually empower women, and women are given superiority over men in a lot of cases, and are kind of worship themselves. Mm-hmm. And there's several that are like that. So, I mean, I could totally see the appeal there.
Yeah. So that's most of my notes on, like, what cults are and how people get into it. I do have some cults that so today I'm going to be going over in detail the NXIVM cult, but I do have some cults that were honorable mentions. Do you have anything else you want to like hit in there before I talk about these honorable mentions?
Not necessarily.
All right. So number 1, of course, is Jonestown. I mean, that's like, you know,
like iconic cult.
That's the one, you know. So Jonestown, that happened. Well, it's called the People's Temple. Mm-hmm. It was run by Jim Jones. That was from 1955 to 1978. I did not know it was that long. Mm-hmm. And actually, at the time, this cult appealed as a progressive organization. So they were all about civil rights advocacy. They operated homes for the elderly.
All the trending topics of the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, but, you know, like, so, I mean, but they were actually, like, kind of, like, doing the stuff, you know? Like, they took care of the mentally ill, a whole bunch of stuff like that. And, you know, I think everyone knows this story. They moved to Guyana? How do you say it? Mm-hmm. All right, well, they moved to there. And
they moved to a place.
And, you know, they started their own town. Some shit went down. I think someone came from America, like someone in Congress or something like that, and he got murdered there. And then right after that is when they killed themselves. Like Jim Jones was like, all right, the shit's falling apart. I'm taking everybody down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I just hit the desk. It might have made a noise on the microphone. But so with that cult, a total of 909 people died. And I thought it was very interesting that, you know, they say don't drink the Kool-Aid. It was off-brand Kool-Aid. I don't know why I thought that was interesting, but I'm just like...
is that where that came from?
Yeah.
Oh. I love myself so much.
But yeah, I'm like, man, you could have at least gotten some real Kool-Aid. Like... Am I being insensitive?
Like, if you're gonna kill somebody, like, get them the good shit.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's just like fruit powder and sugar water, right?
And cyanide.
Well, no, I mean, like, off-brand versus Kool-Aid. Like, without the cyanide.
I don't know.
Hold the cyanide.
It's just different. All right. Well, anyway.
I was not a Kool-Aid drinker as a child, so I don't know the difference. difference between off-brand and
I don't
real
know either,
deal.
but I just know that they're different.
Okay.
So, number 2 is Heaven's Gate. Do you know Heaven's Gate?
I might.
This one's super weird. So, it was from 1972 to 1997.
That's recent-ish.
Yeah. So, they believed an alien escort was going to come in a spacecraft and take them to heaven. They
Okay,
truly-
yes, I did skim this.
And it's just weird, like, people joined this cult, and, like, in 1975, like, 20 people just, like, disappeared from their lives. Like, they didn't go to work, they just left, like, their family, they just, like, left everything, and were, like, living in the woods, camping, like, as part of this cult. Like, just
That's
dropped their
crazy.
lives. So, I should know what year this is, but I don't, but the Hale-Bopp comet was, like, coming close to Earth.
Yeah.
And these Heaven's Gate people were like, "Oh my God, that's the alien spacecraft! It's time!
It's our ride, man."
Yeah. So, you know, they all sadly, not all of them, but they sadly committed suicide. Most of them,
Because they didn't get to
no,
their...
because they thought that was how they
Oh,
transferred
that's how.
to.
You gotta die when this thing's in sight.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then it'll like your soul will go up into it. And it'll take you to the new
That's
world
super
or whatever.
sad.
It's super crazy because so they all wore tunics and Nikes.
That's ridiculous.
There's 38 people in total, not including the
My
leader.
next Instagram picture is gonna be of me in a tunic and Nikes.
So they all wore tunics and Nikes. How they killed themselves was they ate applesauce that had sedatives in it and like drank vodka, I guess. It was like a mix of that.
Okay.
And
So they're
then
party animals.
well, they took the sedatives, but then they
Applesauce.
put a bag over their head so
Ugh.
that way they
So they were just
suffocated.
like triple making sure that they died.
Yes. And each person was found with $5.75 in their pockets.
Is that like admission to board?
That's the toll.
That's the toll.
And I thought
Like
that,
for real though?
Yeah, no, really.
Oh
Like,
my god. So like, but that's in their pocket. Like only their soul is supposed to be transported. Like
I don't think they were thinking very clearly, obviously. But yeah, I thought that I read that and I was like, "Are you serious?"
I feel like spiritual currency has a lot more to do with it than like dollar bills. But
yeah. Oh, and also like 9 of the people or 8. I got 2 numbers. I got 9 and I got 18. Were surgically castrated. Yeah, that was weird. But so the heavens.
Lovely.
Wait. The best thing is that
Why does this give me such bad anxiety? It makes me feel like everything's going to hell.
just don't join a cult.
What if I'm already in one and I don't know?
The website, the Heaven's Gate website, still exists and is still operated by 2 people that were in Heaven's Gate.
So did they just like
They actually
decide like actually we're gonna hold off and
They-
like catch the next one?
they said that they were basically like giving themselves up. They're like, no, you guys go. Someone's got to be back to tell everybody.
Oh, that's a bunch of BS.
I know.
I would
I
have
would
totally have done that.
I would have been like, yeah, I'm on board for not
Yeah.
being on board. Like,
I will carry the word. You guys, please enjoy.
yeah. So number 3 out of my list of notable mentions, there's only 4, don't worry, is the Manson family. Because I don't even like the
Classic.
Manson family, honestly, like as a cult. But
Yeah.
I feel like so many people are into it that I just kind of had to put it in there.
If you're gonna talk about cults, you gotta talk
Exactly.
about the Manson family.
So they were. I don't know if I'll say he or they. I guess I'll say they were operating from 1967 to 1969. Very short lived. Manson thought there was going to be a race war. Yeah, he thought there was going to be a race war. He heard the song Helter Skelter by the Beatles, and that had something to do with him thinking there would be a race war.
Intense.
And so he thought the race war was going to bring the apocalypse. He didn't actually kill anybody. He only influenced.
It still might.
What, Helter Skelter?
No, the race war might still bring on the apocalypse.
I was like, I don't think the Beatles song's going to bring the apocalypse.
I don't know.
anymore.
The Beatles were very ahead of their time.
They were.
Very, very prophetic.
So we all know Charles didn't kill anybody.
Okay.
He influenced people to murder for him. Something I didn't know was that he plotted an assassination attempt against
whom?
President Gerald Ford.
Huh.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
Oh, Jerry.
Another thing that I didn't know was that there was about 100 members in the Manson family.
Damn.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that.
I didn't realize either.
large.
But yeah, because you only see the 3 girls in Manson. You never see the others. I guess they don't really care.
Huh.
So
Not important people.
But Manson died in 2017. Everyone else that was charged, they're still in jail and are not looking to get out anytime soon. I mean, I'm sure they're looking to get out, but they're not gonna. And my last one is the Rajneeshpuram.
Yeah, we watched that documentary.
Yeah, so if you haven't watched Wild Wild Country, Wild Wild Country, watch it because it's really good. It's all about this cult and it's pretty crazy. So they're from India. They purchased land in Oregon, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Was it
Yeah.
Oregon?
Yeah, it was Oregon. They purchased land in Oregon in 1985. The cult had 2,500 residents, and they made their own town within this town. They had the first bioterrorist attack in U.S. history.
Yeah.
That first ever. They made 750
Was that with their
people
restaurants?
sick. No, not their restaurants. They went to other restaurants with cold bars and
That's
put
what's up. That's right.
whatever in the food and made 750 people sick. They were trying to take over the whole town, and what they did was they bussed in a whole bunch of homeless people to influence the court elections, so that way their people would be in the
preying
court,
on the vulnerable.
Yeah, and it didn't work, and yeah, I mean it fell apart. There's a lot more. I mean, I watched the documentary. It was 8 episodes.
Super lengthy, but really informative. A lot of times, I'll be honest, when I'm watching a documentary, I feel like it's 5 different people kind of saying the exact same thing but using different words to connect the same dots. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it, but what else? And with this, it was oh my god, I have to go back and rewatch this because it was almost too much to digest at once.
No, there was so much happening. Yeah. And it's just crazy, how they really did just take control. There was a point there where it really looked like they were gonna have their people in the city government and nobody could do anything about it.
Yeah.
Even
it was no turning back.
What? Point. Even something like the FBI got involved, or
no, it took
top
them
government officials had
years
to get
to tear these people down.
Yeah.
It was not just this isn't cool. At that point, once people knew about it, they were already so far down that path of control that it really did take a long time to dismember the whole construction of their thing.
All right, well those were my honorable mentions.
Very nice job.
Thank you. Do you have anything that you want to add from your notes? Because I have the story on NXIVM, but it's going to be in depth.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, I have a lot of just kind of random things, sort of about how in the 1930s is when cults were suddenly a hot topic for sociological exploration as far as religion goes. And
I'm surprised that it's from the 1930s because to me, in my mind, I think of cults as a 60s to 80s thing,
Yeah, but again, that's kind of more by today's definition. You know what I mean? They were already, these new religious movements, as we're now calling them, were being studied, in the context of behavior, etc., as far back as the 30s, maybe before, but that's what I found. And then by the 40s is when the Christian counter movement had opposed some sects. That's a hard word to say. Without it sounding like sex.
Wait, was sex anywhere in that sentence?
No sex. SECTS.
See, I thought you said sex and sect.
No. And to do religious movements, and labeled them as cults for their unchristian or unorthodox beliefs. So, yes, going back to our occult thing, those are all, of course, unorthodox. But even just looking at Jehovah's Witnesses or Latter-day Saints or even the Catholic Church. Like we had
Yeah.
talked about, like all of those are considered unorthodox by this Christian counter movement. And then that kind of is what launched into like the 60s and the 70s and like the whole anti-cult activism and all of that, which is a whole other like rabbit hole. So I don't know. You've got a lot there to talk about. So I don't really have to delve into all this because I feel like we sort of touched on some of it, but I mean, like,
do you want me to get into the story? I don't.
I'm
mind,
curious
like, you know.
to hear about this because we have not talked to one another about the things that we have been researching.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, we kind of like gave like because we didn't want to research the exact same thing, but that's kind of like the whole thing about this is we get a subject, we both go our separate ways, we don't talk to each other about what we researched, and then we come back together, and so that way you get two different views, and also it's just more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to know what you're researching. Like tell me so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, no, totally.
All right, so wait, am I going into this or you?
I think go into it, and then I can always
Okay.
kind of follow or, sprinkle some of my stuff in your stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Totally. Well, the cult that I'm going to talk about and go into detail about, and I'm like excited, is a cult called NXIVM. And I'm super excited about this because I feel like it's a new age cult that like you look at it and you wouldn't be like, oh, that's a cult. You know what I mean?
Not so
Like,
quick to have the like, ugh, God, like
yeah, exactly.
bad
so like,
vibe.
and I feel like I know a bunch of people that would totally look at NXIVM if all this stuff wasn't now out,
Right.
and be like, oh my god, this is great. I want to totally do these classes and do these things.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got a lot of information from just internet searches, but also there is a podcast called Escaping NXIVM, and it's really good. It's like 8 episodes. Obviously, I'm not going to cover 8 episodes worth of stuff. So, yeah, check it out after the show or whenever you want to listen to it. I don't know why I'm telling you when to listen to it. But
We don't know their life.
But yeah, it's really good. So, the cult is called NXIVM, right?
Yes.
Started by a guy named Keith Raniere. So, another red flag, he believed, at age 13, he believed he was a guru.
Oh.
And he was like the most charismatic, smooth-talking person. He thought he was like God's gift to women, and he had a ton of girlfriends, and he would just like tell them all the same thing, like, oh, you're so amazing, you're the perfect one for me. And so like you think like, oh, what a player, but he was really charismatic. Like people would do things for him. Like I'm sure everyone knows somebody that you're like, God, like how does this person even survive? Everyone's just like helping them survive,
Yeah.
And
That was when he was 13.
Well, this is from like 13 to like early 20s.
That's great.
When
I was 13, I was like, can I hide inside of myself anymore? Like,
yeah,
I was
right?
the complete opposite. It's like, who am I? What's happening to me? I don't like it.
So he also boasted a lot, and especially like in his early 20s. So he said when he was 1 year old, he would speak full sentences. He already spoke full sentences. At 2 years old, he was reading. And holistically, his IQ is 240.
That's what that, or is that like actual factual?
He did take an IQ test, but it was open book, and he took like 2 days to take it. So, I mean, take that with a grain of salt. And just as a reference, Stephen Hawking's IQ is 160. They say Einstein's IQ is 160 to 190.
Okay,
so
yeah, that puts that into perspective.
There's
real
a
quick.
reference for you.
Okay.
In 98, he founded a self-help group, which he called NXIVM. And he started this with Nancy Salzman, and it was a multi-level marketing company. It was based out of Albany, New York. And their whole thing was like, oh, we're supporting your personal growth and development, your professional development. You're going to take these seminars. They're called executive success programs. Like,
wow.
It sounds fancy. And so people are like, oh, it's a self-help group. Like, yeah I'm going to pay to be a part of a self-help group. And they actually use, in a lot of these classes, they did use real techniques that were like aimed at self-improvement, like stuff that people use in actual self-help groups. And their biggest thing, like, they just wanted that, like, what they said was that they want people to experience more joy in life. Like, that's what they were pushing.
Yeah, I would totally bite.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Who doesn't want more freaking joy?
they said like consistent thoughts get consistent results. They taught self-awareness. You know, it reminds me of like mindfulness classes, which people
like intentions
take.
and
yeah, like in Floyd, there's mindfulness classes everywhere. Like, you know.
Oh yeah, no, it's all about like the energies you're attracting and you know, the frequencies you're putting out into the world. I mean, I feel like that speech, that language is just generally, I mean, this was, you know, not now, but like in recent years has become way more and more acceptable.
I mean, this was only in 98, so you know.
Yeah, but I feel like in the past 20 years,
That's
like
true.
that has changed a lot, like even the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But
and the ultimate goal of the group was to be fully integrated, which is like achieving enlightenment, basically. Do you know how many people were able to get fully integrated?
0.
1. Keith Raniere.
Oh,
he was the only one to be fully
I
integrated.
retract my previous answer and insert that answer.
So, and I feel like, I don't know, maybe since it was 98 and early 2000s, you know, there was a lot of changes happening, and I think people were vulnerable to the changes that were happening. And so tons of people were into this. And actually, a lot of famous people also got into it.
Yeah, well, I feel like that was almost like the beginning of this culture that we were just talking about a few seconds ago. Yeah.
Lots of famous people that I didn't know, but also some that I did. The Dalai Lama went and spoke with NXIVM in 2009.
Damn.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, they became
That's
a big
legit.
deal. Yeah, they became a big deal. Surprisingly, a lot of people from Smallville got into the cult. I don't know if you watch Smallville. I used to own every season, but so Smallville was that show about like
Smallville
Superman.
was like highly susceptible.
Yeah, I don't know. So Kristen Crook, who plays Lana in Smallville, she got involved, and then in doing so, she got Allison Mack involved. Allison Mack, she's in Smallville, but she's also the girl that's in the Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves as a daughter, the blonde one. Yeah. But Allison Mack got super into it. Like, she quit her job. Like, she quit acting, moved to Albany, New York, moved her parents up, got her parents into this, and really became Keith Raniere's right-hand woman. Like, she was at the top. She was what they call the inner circle.
But even she wasn't enlightened fully?
Nope. Another really famous person that got into this was Claire Bronfman, who is the Seagram's heiress.
Oh my gosh.
She is the heiress to the Seagram's fortune.
I do like their ginger ale.
And remember when I was like, I'm drinking Seagram's ginger ale? Just remember that. Do you remember?
Yes.
So yeah, she got into this, and Keith Raniere was known for like kind of like using people's money, or if people had something that he could use, like he would become really good friends with you. So he ended up borrowing a total of $65 million from her and lost it all in trading.
Wow.
Yes. I don't think
he was so smart though.
I don't think she minds though, because she owns a private island in Fiji, so you know.
I want that.
So yeah, you know that you kind of heard about the pitch, how people were brought into it, and so you know the next thing is to take the classes, which cost a lot of fucking money. Okay,
how many dollars?
So the entry level course is 5 days. And it's from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. So, like,
So, 13 hours.
Yes. It's a $500 deposit, and the entry-level course costs between $2,000 to $3,000.
Wait, so it's 1 day is the entry-level course?
No, it's the 5 days.
5 days, okay.
But it costs $3,000.
Okay.
There are workshops that cost $15,000 for just one workshop. Like, the classes are ridiculous, and this is where they're getting their money, really, you know. And, you know, there's Escaping NXIVM thing I was just telling you about. So the chick from that, her name's Sarah Edmondson, her total that she spent, and she had been in NXIVM since the early 2000s till, like, last year. She spent over $100,000 in classes.
Wow.
But she was a top...
I can't afford enlightenment.
I know, right? She was a top recruiter, though. So she was making $20,000 a month recruiting people.
Right.
Like, she got really good at it. Also, I think it's really funny to celebrate Keith's birthday, which was a week-long thing. Everyone flew out to Albany. That cost $2,000. To attend his birthday. To attend his birthday, you had to pay $2,000. If you're interested, he is a Virgo. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, well, shout out to my mama who's a Virgo, but they can be some crazy ass bitches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So as of right now, you're like, okay, he's just, scamming people. Like, I don't know, what's the big cult
General douche status.
Yeah. So the thing is with this, there's like a cult within a cult, but I'll get to that.
Okay.
So yeah, similarly like how we were talking about, they find vulnerable people, I don't even know if they know that they're finding vulnerable people. It just kind of seemed like they asked everybody, and really pushed it. And they would have lines that they would tell people. They would be like, this vulnerable person that's going through something, they'd be like, you're holding yourself back. This class will do whatever you want. Like, you will take so much out of this class. Just try it one time. You don't have to make a commitment. Just try it. And they'd be like, it is worth $3,000 to have that tool set. Change your life. Get what you want. It's so easy to have your dream life, and this class will show you. Like, seriously, just try it. And so people were like, oh, well, you've piqued my interest. I want to be happy and be emotionally well, and, I'll try it. Then we get to seminars, which are, at this point, first of all, I don't have enough money to even join. If they were like, yeah, you're going to try it, it's $3,000, I'd be like, never fucking mind. Also, they would ask people like on cruises and stuff, so they'd have like like groups on cruises trying to recruit people, and then you're just fucking stuck. Like, like you're on a cruise. You can't really
like escape them.
Yeah. But if I got to the point of seminars, this is when
trashed on a cruise.
Huh?
I feel like people are just like trashed the whole time they're on a cruise, and like will kind of say yes to anything.
Yeah, right. No, well, getting to the seminar part, this is where I would be like, I'm definitely out. This is a cult. But,
that's you.
People want to believe in stuff, and I get it. So during the seminars, if Keith was there, he had to be regarded as Vanguard. That's what you called him.
Oh my God.
Which stands for the forefront of an action or movement. But he got that from his favorite video game, so don't think he's all high and mighty.
Like one of George Costanza's like made up business names. Was it Vanguard? Wasn't that? I feel like that
I don't
was.
know. We're gonna have to.
We're gonna have to look it up. I might look it up while you're talking to me.
Okay. So and then I told you he started the group with the woman Salzman.
Yes.
Yes. Nancy Salzman. Yes. She was regarded as prefect, which counts as senior student. That's what that means. I really thought it was just a term out of Harry Potter. I didn't know it was real. So, as recruits, you learned the rules and the rituals. So there was a hierarchy of sashes. There were secret handshakes. There was a 12-point mission statement. And as soon as you started the class, you went and signed a non-disclosure agreement. That's the first thing that you did. You are not allowed to talk about this. If you take anything out of this, we will sue you. Like, you can't show anybody this. I'm like, okay, that's weird. The sashes are weird. Secret handshakes, this is strange. I'm not calling you Vanguard. These seminars were made to seem super spiritual, and a lot was asked of the recruits in the seminars. Just past money. There was one-on-one training that you had to do, which costed a lot of money. There were seminars that were only in Albany, New York, that, if you got recruited on a cruise,
so you're having to travel.
You're having to travel and fly across the country sometimes to get to some of these workshops and some of these seminars. But people did get, they felt that the transformational and inspirational curriculum was life-changing. So people were taking these classes and actually feeling better because
they were seeing results.
Yeah, because like I said, they were using real techniques.
Okay.
They were just
like they weren't totally full of shit, but they were just like super capitalizing on like
and
the
kind
vulnerabilities of people
and kind of putting like I'm the top. You can only learn this stuff from me and my group. You can't get it anywhere else, and it's working for you,
Right. So then I wonder, like, how much of these people seeing positive results is just because they have invested so much financially that, like, they kind of...
Well, yeah, if I invest $3,000 in something,
I damn well better walk away joyous.
Yeah. And so once people, got through the seminars, and this was something that was ever continuing. You continued to take classes. You became really part of NXIVM. Like, it got to the point where people were moving to Albany, New York. There were towns that were just people in NXIVM. There were weeks that people would go by and not see someone that wasn't in NXIVM. Like, they really, like, got into it.
Yeah.
Like, it was their life.
It became like a Jonestown. Like, people How many people did you say were in this? Sorry, I couldn't remember if you had already said it.
I don't think I did say. I didn't say. I'm not sure. It was a lot.
I'm a look.
It was a lot all over the country because there were, different centers in a bunch of different places, and recruiters were everywhere. So yeah, this really, really, really became a huge thing in people's lives. And I'm not talking like just for a little bit. I'm talking like Sarah Edmondson was in this cult for something like 12 to 16 years. She got married to somebody else that was in the cult. They had kids. Everyone at her wedding was people that were in the cult, So and you're not supposed to really talk to people that are outside of it. Another thing that you see in like all these cults, isolation. So yeah, you're isolated from anything that
but
isn't the cult.
But it sounds like they had manipulated these people in such a way that they weren't actually the ones isolating the members. Like the members were choosing to isolate themselves from the rest of the world,
which is like
under the guise of self-empowerment and enlightenment.
Yeah, they had groups. They had men's groups. They called them the Society of Protectors. That was the men's group. And the women's group was called Jeunesse. Not as cool as Society as Protectors. Well, in the women's group, they basically talked shit about women. Like, it was a women's group, and they talked shit about women. They,
So it was women talking shit about other women.
Like, basically, like, whoever was leading the class, either Keith Raniere or someone else would be like, women aren't as strong, and you guys have all these emotions, and that's why men have to, like, really step up and be,
The protector.
Exactly. So they just made
Protect
women
us from our feelings.
feeble and, just not strong.
Yeah.
Kind of, what would you say, breaking people down to be in this cult and getting even further. Meanwhile, in the past couple years, I think this was between like 2012 and 2015, Keith Raniere started having all these sexual allegations against him. And there were also a lot of underage sexual allegations.
Oh, damn it.
But the people that were in this group looked at Keith Raniere as a god. Like, And so they weren't allowed to listen to the news about this. They weren't allowed to really hear anything about it. And they were told it's fake and fake news. And Keith Raniere started losing his bearings at a point. Some of his closest executives, once they got to the top and they'd been in this group for years and years, kind of started seeing what was really happening and who Keith Raniere was. And they left. And these are like people that have been in his cult for like 10 years and were main people and very close to him and getting his message out there. Like 9 of them left, and they called themselves the NXIVM 9. And so because of that, that's when he started kind of losing his shit.
Yeah.
And he even said sometime after this, it says, Keith thought the group used to be Nazis and they could evolve their souls through having sex with him. So I
don't even understand all of what that means.
I think it started off, he was like, I'm going to make money and this is going to be great. And then the power really got to him and it changed. Like, you know what I mean? I think he was still going to scam people in the beginning. It seems like
he's kind of unraveling.
Yeah, totally. So people start leaving, and Keith wants to stop that. He doesn't.
Obviously.
Yeah, exactly. So there's this new group that all of a sudden starts up. It's called DOS. DOS.
DOS.
Yes. It stands for Dominus Obsequious Sororium. I don't know if anybody knew that when the group approached them. But that said, like, that translates to master over the slave women.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the leader of this group, the person who started this group, I'm making air quotations, was Allison Mack.
Oh.
Allison Mack, right-hand man, she started the group, and she would go up to women and be like, this is a group. It's run by women. It's run for women. We're going to be a covert force, and we're going to make huge impacts on society. And people are not even going to know what's happening, but it's going to be us behind the smoke and mirrors, and we're going to be making some fucking awesome changes, like real big changes in government and life and society, stuff like that. That was kind of like their pitch.
Right.
And so if you're a woman who was just in that group, Janess, where, you know, you're being told that you're good for nothing and too sensitive to get anything done, you're going to be like, fuck yeah, let's do it. So you're going to be like, yeah, I want to join your group. And this is when Allison Mack goes, great. Now, I just need you to provide us some collateral.
Such as?
It's a lot of collateral. But first off, I'm like, why do I need to give you collateral to be this great, you know, person? And they basically said women are too gossipy, and this is a really secret group, and we don't want it to get out.
Right.
Your collateral won't go anywhere, but we need it just in case. And at that point,
so they need to hold something over them.
Yeah. So at that point, there comes in the coercion. Right? Like that. Yeah. That's coercion. So the collateral was not just one of these things. It had to be all of these things. The deed to your house, a large sum of money.
How large?
I don't know. I couldn't find it. And ruined social reputation. So basically, you, like, Allison Mack would record you saying something untrue about your husband or something terrible about your family, something that would socially kind of...
So they want, like, actual collateral, but then also, like, blackmail.
Yes. And, like, they would make women... A lot of the women in this group had to take naked pictures, like... And they'd be like, all right, full-on labia... We need to see your labia, your boobs, and your face in the picture. Like, you need to take in an angle where we see all of that.
Is that a flattering angle for anyone? That's a lot to
It's
fit
collateral. I don't think it's supposed to be flattering. So, if you've decided that you're going to give up the collateral, which I will say Allison Mack didn't really give you much of a chance. She would, like, if you'd be like, oh, I don't know, blah, 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 she'd turn... the learnings of the class against you and kind of be like, look, see, this is what you do. You're afraid of change. You're afraid of commitment. That's you. And one of the things you have to do is be uncomfortable to make progress, which is like a true statement almost. Yeah, being uncomfortable does make progress in certain ways, but
boundaries, people.
Yeah, so people would be like, oh, yeah, this is one of my things. Let me change this, you know? And so then they would get into it. So... they would provide the collateral, which didn't even have to be true. You could make false statements. They just needed it to be bad. And after they provided the collateral, Allison Mack was like, great. Now, before you actually join, you have to pledge. There's this pledge period. So it's kind of like hazing in a way, like a period before you're actually in the group. And during this pledge period, there was a daily act of denial that had to be done, such as, like, you would take cold showers. Not hot showers, like just an act of denial. There was an hour of work for your master each week. So Allison Mack got these people in, right? So she's their master. If they get anybody else in, they're the masters of the other people, you know? So an hour of work has to be done each week for your master, which doesn't sound like a lot, but say you get 30 people in, that's 30 hours of work.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, that's like full-time, basically, almost.
Yeah.
The worst thing, and I think this is crazy, is that there was readiness drills. And so what that was...
Like a fire drill?
No. So if your master, you'd be in a group chat with your master, and she would text you and be like, ready. You had to respond within 1 minute. Everybody in the group, no matter what time it was, they would do this at like 2 o'clock in the morning, all the fucking time.
Cruel.
And you had to respond with ready. Otherwise... if you didn't, you'd be punished. Like
how?
So the cold shower thing is kind of an example of a punishment you could have. Or every day at 4 o'clock in the morning, you have to wake up and stand naked outside in the cold for an hour.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Yeah. So if you weren't going to be able to be ready for that readiness drill, you would have to message.
Sounds like hazing, basically.
Yeah,
but
that's
that
what
never
I'm saying.
ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would have to message your master and tell them going dark. That's what you would message them. So, and I mean at any point. If you were going in an elevator, you had to be like going dark. As soon as you got out of the elevator, undark. You know, just any point, like going in the shower, going dark. Like you just had to be ready at every point.
So you are basically having to show accountability for like every minute of every day. Like they own you.
Yes.
And your house.
Practically.
And a picture of your vagina.
Yes. So after that, after the pledge period, if you get through that, you make it through that, then there's the initiation period, which is intense. These women are flown out to Albany, New York. Mm-hmm. That's where Allison Mack lives. They're blindfolded, driven to be disoriented, and brought to Allison's home. They don't know where they're going. Once they get into the home, they're shown this symbol, and it's supposed to represent women through the 4 elements. That's what they're told. And it's like, this symbol, it's like kind of cute, and they're like, yeah, we're, gonna put this on your body. It's gonna be part of like you being a part of this group. And at this point, some of the women are like, I don't have any tattoos. I don't want this on my body. Again, they use tactics to kind of put that back on them. It's like, you made a commitment, and now you're going back on your commitment, blah, blah, blah.
Is it a tattoo?
No.
I didn't think so.
It's not a tattoo. So the women lay down. An actual doctor comes out with a
Are they expecting a tattoo? Or are they told what they're getting?
No, they don't know. They just told they're getting a mark on their body.
Okay.
So a doctor comes out, they're laying down on a table, and the doctor cauterizes this image into their skin, like right basically above their vagina.
So they're branded.
These women are literally getting branded with a cauterizing pen. No
anesthesia.
No anesthesia,
or
nothing.
Local anesthetic. Yeah.
No. And supposedly I've never been cauterized, but supposedly it really fucking
sounds
hurt.
Awful.
Also, a lot of women had to wear masks because the smell of the burning skin was so bad they were like gagging and throwing up and shit. I actually have images. Hold on. I have some images to show you of the brand. Which, by the way, follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. You can find us
Speaking of branding.
You can find us at Unusual Insight if you just search it. I will put these pictures up of the brands on Facebook, so make sure to follow us there. So that's what it ended up looking like.
So I see the A and the M for what, Allison Mack, I'm assuming. Is that a T also?
Well, that was my next thing.
Sorry. Well, I'm looking at the picture. They're not, so go ahead and explain it.
So, yeah, this image, it, like, at first you're looking at it, it almost looks like some Aztec-y, like,
Yeah, kind of like a mountain with another mountain in front of it.
But if
like
you...
a horizon line.
If you truly look at it, though, you see an A and an M, like, in the image. Uh-huh. And then if you turn it this way, you see a K and a backwards R.
Oh, because he chills and I like it.
So they had no clue that they were getting the initials of Allison Mack and Keith Raniere on their body.
I legit have chills. Look at my heart.
Oh my God, you do? So at this point, once women start kind of figuring this out, they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And
what have I done?
Because now, what does it say if you have a brand of someone else's initials on you?
That they own you.
They own you.
They're like fucking cattle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So after they got branded, these women were put on starvation diets and kept extremely thin because that was Keith Raniere's. That's what he liked.
Preferred look.
That was his preference. And
emaciated.
And then they were told they had to have sex with Keith Raniere. This is where it becomes like an actual cult. This is what I'm saying. Like the cult within a cult. I mean, the other one was still a cult, but DOS within this group.
But like mildly acceptable form of cult, the original.
Yeah.
I mean, like it was bad, but it wasn't like fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these women, and so Keith Raniere basically had like a wheel of 15 women that would like cycle through and be sent to him and basically told that they had to have sex with him. Sometimes he would kind of spin it as like, oh yeah, you should come by. I have a really good work thing for you. Like, like move on up with this thing. Like come by, we'll talk about it. Other times it didn't seem so much and they couldn't get out of it because they would lose everything. The collateral, they would lose their house, all that money that they just put up. And past that, they're in this group where that's everything that they know and everybody they know. And then there's that social damage, you know? So at this point, these women really feel stuck. And remember, like I said, Keith Raniere started losing his bearings because people started leaving. Right. I feel like this was his way, because everyone that left was a woman. The NXIVM 9 women, they were all women that left. And I feel like this group, in a way, was him...
Like his ultimate fuck you to women?
No, him trying to close the lid on people leaving. He'd be like, well, now you can't leave because I have all this stuff on you, and we're going to have sex.
Creepy McCreeperson, I don't like him.
No, yeah, it was really bad. Also, the women that were having sex with him, you could only have sex with Keith. Like, you couldn't have sex with anybody else, which is weird.
So, yeah, like, are these women, like, are none of them married? Because you had mentioned as one of the blackmail things. Like
Sarah Edmondson, she was in the Escaping NXIVM. She was married. But I guess it was looked at that, you know, she wasn't supposed to have sex with her husband, but luckily she never got to that point of having sex with Keith. He did seem to, like, try to get her to come out more and more and more, but she kind of blew the lid on it all before she let it get. Well, like, once she noticed that she was branded with initials, she was like, fuck this. And yeah, so she went to leave, just like many other people have. And when someone leaves, they're called, the term is defect, like kind of like the military. And they're called suppressives, someone who behaves unethically. And they even offer courses on it, just in case you want to know more and pay $5,000 for a course. The people that do leave, they're excommunicated. If you had any high-ranking information or talked to the media, you were immediately attacked by lawyers. Even if it, you know, didn't go through and become anything, like, they would just attack you on a new thing and a new thing and a new thing, to the point where you're going to, you know, court so much that even though you're not being sued, you're still fucking out of money. Yeah, like
they're ruining your life.
Yeah, they destroyed lives, like, literally, like the NXIVM 9 people that left got destroyed. So again, this is a thing where you really don't have the option to leave, because if you do, you will be destroyed. You'll have nothing. So Claire Bronfman, the Seagram's woman, she is the one who provided all the money for the lawsuits. And some people that
left, on top of the $65 million?
Yes. She is, and she's still to this day, like, right now, she's a true believer, like, all in.
Even after all this, wow. Like, why? I mean, has she ever made a statement, like she truly believes that what they're doing is a good thing?
Yes. No, that's what I'm saying. They really do believe this guy. Like, he is.
Do you think he really believes he's doing a good thing at this point?
I can't say.
Like, that he is benefiting society, he is leaving the world a better place than he found it? Like,
I don't know.
Or is he just on, like, a path of freaking
I think he's a little lost at this point. Not that he didn't start off like, a little grasping. Lost. And so, like, one of the people that left, her name was Tony Natalie, and she actually dated Keith Raniere for a while, like, actually. And just kind of an example of what happened. Her house was broken into on multiple occasions. She was followed by private investigators, like, for months. She was sued by NXIVM, of course, because that's what they do. Tons of false charges. But the worst, her dog was poisoned. Oh, they poisoned her dog.
No, I'm gonna cry now.
See, that's what I'm saying.
I always cry when something happens to an animal.
No, it's the fucking worst. Like, what if you
like, the
poisoned
dog
a
is innocent. Like,
that made me so mad. Anyway, another thing,
what kind of dog was that?
I don't know. Poisoned kind. I'm sorry, that was bad.
Insensitive.
You know, it was to the point where it was dangerous if you left. The NXIVM 9 that left, all the women in that group got a phone call, and like, after they left, and it was this anti-cult course being like, we understand you just got out of a cult, like, we want to hear your story. You know, we're doing this seminar in Mexico, and we want you to talk at it, like, talk about your experience, and blah, blah, blah. None of the women ended up going because they're broke. They're being sued all the hell and don't have money to go. But it turns out that Keith Raniere, he bribed the Mexican judges and authorities over there. So when they went into Mexico, they would have been arrested. put in jail, and the judges were already bribed to keep them in jail over there.
That's fucked.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's to the point where, like, no, this is no longer a self-help group if you can't leave. Like,
and it's these guys ruin it for all the other cults out there that we were talking about earlier that are just, like, trying to do their own thing peacefully.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, Sarah Edmondson, she's the one who breaks this cult. So, listen to Escaping NXIVM. I'm really trying to squeeze everything in here.
I'm a fan. What's her name? Sarah who?
Sarah Edmondson.
Sarah Edmondson. Go, girl.
2017, she leaves the cult. It's a big deal, and Escaping NXIVM goes through all it. She goes to the New York Times and tells them her story, shows them her scar, and the New York Times writes a paper about it.
I have chills again, but they're the good kind.
And once the story comes out, it goes crazy. It's picked up by every news place. Like, I mean, just everyone's talking about it. And the FBI...
I live in a bubble, and that's why I didn't know about it until today.
Well, the FBI didn't know about it either. But then they saw her fucking thing, and the FBI launches an investigation because of her story.
Yes.
Yeah, which I think is cool. So that starts coming out that, whoa, this is a fucking sex cult. Like, these women are being sex trafficked to Keith Raniere because... that's what is actually happening. Like, behind all this bullshit, it is a sex cult.
And they're basically, like, paying for themselves to be trafficked.
Exactly. So, hundreds of people start to leave when they find that out. And in March of 2018...
So, like, what is that? Not even 10 months ago.
That is just so recent.
That is like yesterday.
In March of 2018, Keith Raniere was arrested.
Whoop, whoop.
Charged with sex trafficking, conspiracy to commit sex trafficking, and forced labor. He is being held in jail, or prison, jail? Oh no, he's being held in jail.
Really? Because I feel like prison just sounds like
you go to prison after you get tried.
Oh, he hasn't been tried yet?
No, he hasn't been tried yet.
Oh my god.
It's so recent. So he's being held in jail. And April 20th of 2018, the worst 420 ever for this chick.
God.
Allison Mack was arrested on similar charges to Keith Raniere.
Screw that bitch.
She's currently out on $5 million bond and house arrest. $5 million bond.
That's like nothing, though, for them.
I know, right? But both their charges hold a 15-year minimum if they get, like, guilty. Claire Bronfman, she was arrested and charged with racketeering, money laundering, forced labor, and... oh, that's it. On July 24th, she is out on a $100 million bond and house arrest. $100 million bond.
Why so much more for Beth?
Bronfman. Claire Bronfman.
Claire.
Because I think her thing... I mean,
I am an awful person when it comes to names.
She's got different charges, like, completely. Racketeering, money laundering, forced labor, yeah. Well, and you know what? I wouldn't mind being on house arrest if I had a fucking island on... or I owned an island.
Yeah, seriously. Like,
you know, I bet
the house?
I bet you my house is, like, huge and amazing.
Like bigger than the size of our town.
Yeah, right? And Nancy Salzman, she was arrested for the same charges as Claire Bronfman.
Uh-huh.
So everyone at the top has gotten arrested.
Good.
And that's where we...
let justice be served.
That's where we stop for now, because the trial's on March 18th of 2019.
Oh, that's soon.
So that's crazy.
We might have to do like a little follow-up.
No, yeah, I'm...
like, not a whole episode, but we'll just like a little quick snippet.
Totally. No, we're going to keep you guys updated, so make sure you like... subscribe, make sure to listen, follow us on Facebook and Instagram because we're going to update you on these things. Listen to Escaping NXIVM because it's so good. Also, a cool little thing, the website for NXIVM is still up. When you click on it, it kind of looks like it's been suspended because it says suspending all NXIVM ESP enrollment, curriculum, and events until further notice due to extreme circumstances facing the company. But if you actually click on the links, you can go and see all the classes that they were doing. I mean, they had kids classes, they had community classes, they had so much stuff. It's crazy. So go check it out on their website and see how easy it would have been. Like, what would you have fallen for it, you know? Mm-hmm. And yeah, like I said, I'm going to post the images of the brand on Facebook and Instagram. If you want, there are some videos of Keith talking with Allison Mack, so that way you can kind of get an idea of what he sounded like and how he actually got people, you know, like listening to him. And so the videos are called Conversations with Keith. Check those out.
It sounds so friendly though. Like,
I do have a little bit. I don't know if we have enough time to do it. It's 50 seconds. What do you think?
I mean, at this point, what's 50 seconds?
Yeah, that's true. All right, let me pull up this video so that way you can kind of hear what he sounds like and what he's saying and how people fell for him.
So when someone's being authentic, you get the feeling that not only that there's a person there in the moment, but somehow you reach into their very essence and you meet a unique individual.
Sounds pretty culty.
I don't know why. That makes me want to cry. It's beautiful.
And at this point, Allison Mack is crying.
I think these are all things that we strive for. You know, we strive as individuals, we strive to break through a type of existential isolation. We want to touch someone. We want to know that other people have souls. We want to experience this. We want to experience connection. Things like.
So that's kind of what he sounds like and what he's preaching. To me, honestly, it sounds like a whole bunch of fluff. I'm like, what are you even actually talking about?
Well, yeah. I mean, he sounds like a salesman. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, there's a lot of key words there and, like, trending words there and totally viable, totally believable. I mean, I subscribe to a lot of those ideals in life. You know what I mean? Like, yes, connection. Yes, authenticity. Yes, being presence. Yes, like being your true self and
exactly
exposing your essence.
And that's why I think people can really get sucked into this in the current day and age. You know, like, no, cults aren't what they used to look like. We're not getting like killing ourselves to get on a fucking comet. You know, like, where I could obviously be like, that's a cult. Like, this one, it's so gray, like, you know, such a gray area that, like, I don't know. I personally would have, you know, fall into it just because, first of all, I'm broke, and second of all, I don't like people.
That would not have even been a choice for...
But I can see so many people really getting stuck in it. So, yeah, sorry my story was so long. I really tried to minimize that.
Well, I mean, it seems like if with all of the, like, exposure this has been given, you were able to really condense it down, even though it was lengthy.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I feel like the lesson there is, like, don't let people take your fucking power from you. You know what I mean? Like, that is the choice you have to make here. And ultimately, like, it's one thing if you are wanting to be on a path of enlightenment or self-improvement or whatever that looks like for you. But, like, when someone's asking for something from you in exchange for you being who you are, basically, or they're trying to help you be who you are, then, like, that's sketchy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there shouldn't be an exchange there. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't have to buy your authenticity. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, right?
You know what I mean?
Totally.
So, I don't know. Like, yeah, I can totally see the allure, and yeah, I can, like, have a lot of compassion for these people that were just, you know, like, for whatever reason, kind of called to follow this path. But at the same time, again, I just feel like, you know, practicing some common sense and, like...
Yeah. And, I mean, once they were in it, it's also very hard for them to leave because they would have been sued all to hell.
Well, yeah, no, like, I mean, I'm talking about the initial, like...
No, yeah, just the getting in part. Totally.
Right, yeah, no, I mean, once you're fucking in, you're fucked.
Yeah. Literally. So you thought it was good? You didn't think it was lame? Because I know it wasn't a super murdery cult or anything, you know?
No. I mean, I think it definitely falls in the category of destructive cults, which are the ones giving the other good cults a bad name. Mm-hmm. I mean, and even me saying good cults, like, it just, they don't go together. So, like, I hate that, like, even I, having done the research, still feel super awkward, like, connecting a positive word with the word cult.
No, I know, I feel you.
But at the same time, like, I feel like when you really look at kind of like these base definitions, like, or, you know, characteristics of a cult, like a charismatic leader, like, well, sorry, Christians, I'm one of you, but, like, Jesus Christ was pretty freaking charismatic. You know what I mean? Like, you can look at these and, like, I don't even have my list in front of me anymore. Yes, I do. But, like, traditional secrecy, or, like, with texts, or practices, you know, that are only divulged to a select few. Like, look at the Jewish Kabbalah or certain kinds of Buddhism. Like, those are just a couple. Isolation, like monasteries, covenants. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like you can look at these individual things. Like, we already even touched on like monetary contributions and like tithing, which is pretty much like Christianity, Judaism, Islam, like all of these things. I don't know. I still am kind of like, I want to like figure out a new dialogue to have about cults after doing the research that I did. Like, I want to learn a lot more now because I just feel so ignorant, and still do largely, like, about how society views these people. And I guess like I'm always kind of fighting for the underdog, and so like I want people to have like freedom of expression and freedom of spirituality. And so like it just sucks that if they're doing something different, immediately everyone's like, you know what I mean? Like,
totally.
Nobody could see what I was doing, but I was like putting up the hex.
Putting up like the cross with the two fingers
like,
that you do against.
Stay away, vampire.
Like vampires, yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of like to each their own, and obviously like people are going to make whatever judgments they make, but I don't know. The whole thing was kind of depressing, I'll be honest. Like,
well, you know,
there's a lot of fucked up people in the world. We already knew that.
There's more to come. I mean, we just started the podcast, so, you know, next episode's going to be rough.
So I'm just going to put this out here right now. I struggle with anxiety, so this is a stretch for me. Like, I already know it's going to be every week, so I might not get as, like, down and dirty and into the, like, nitty-gritty, scary, whatever, unusual aspects, but I will always have a perspective.
Well, we want to hear your perspective. Do you know anybody in a cult? Do you know anything about NXIVM?
Are you in a cult?
Are you a cult leader? You should email us at unusualinsightpodcast@gmail.com. Tell us all your cult stories. If you want to hear something on the next episode, like if you want us to tell you about something on the next episode, or wait, no, what am I trying to say? If you want
have
us
a
to
suggestion of a topic for us to cover on an episode, or if you have a piece of information that specifically relates to anything we talked about today, then we would happily include that as a little mention.
Yes, so please email us. I'm really excited. I really want to read what you guys have to say. That's unusualinsightpodcast@gmail.com. Again, if you like this podcast, I know it's a little long right now, but we were really excited. It's the first episode. Give us a break. But if you like it, please rate, review, subscribe. It will make the world of difference.
Follow us on Instagram, Unusual Insight. Like us on Facebook, Unusual Insight.
I like to post unusual stories on Facebook. That's something that you really don't get anywhere
unusual
else.
Shorts.
Yeah, little short tidbits or little stories. So yeah, follow us there. And I mean, other than that, I think we're good. Yeah.
Listen next week, guys.
All right, next week. Do you want to tell them what it's going to be?
You tell them.
All right, next week, we're doing Nazi experiments. I've already started researching this stuff. Guys, you are going to want to hear it.
I have not researched it. I am a procrastinator, but I'm really excited to hear it and maybe do some research too.
Yeah, I mean, you should do some research. All right, guys, I think we're out, right?
Yeah, signing off.
All right, everyone, thank you for listening, and,
definitely don't be boring.
Yeah.
Or usual.
No, be strange. All right, we got to work on this part. All right, bye.